I heard the words before I saw him. "Please save me. I can't breathe." The voice was weak, broken, nothing like the man everyone feared in this house. I froze in the doorway of his study, a bucket and cleaning cloth still in my hands. Rain slammed against the mansion windows so hard it felt like the sky was falling apart. The storm hid my footsteps, but nothing could hide the sight in front of me. Jonathan Wright, the man who ruled half of New York's underworld, was slumped across his desk. His body shook. His fingertips clawed at his collar like he was fighting for air. For a moment, I couldn't move. I had spent 2 years working here, training myself to stay invisible. My mother always told me to keep my head down, do my job, and never get involved in anything dangerous. And Jonathan Wright was danger, wrapped in a suit and cold power. But that night, he didn't look dangerous. He looked like a dying man. His head lifted just enough for his eyes to find mine. I had never seen fear in those eyes before. It made my breath catch. "Help!" he gasped, reaching toward me with a shaking hand. I knew something was wrong long before I stepped into the room. I had seen the security cameras go dark earlier. I had heard voices in the West Wing that didn't belong to any member of the staff. I felt the silence in the house settle thick and heavy, the way silence does when something terrible is coming. This wasn't an accident. Someone wanted him dead. I dropped to my knees beside him. My hands trembled, but my mind switched into a different gear, one I hadn't used since nursing school. Jonathan grabbed my wrist with surprising strength. "Not the phone," he rasped. His eyes flicked weakly toward the bar cabinet. Blue vial. Inside the Degas painting. They're watching. The Degas painting hung on his wall, soft colors so out of place in the dark, masculine room. My heart pounded as I ran to it. When I pushed on the frame, it swung open to reveal a small fingerprint safe. My breath shook as I grabbed his hand and pressed his thumb to the scanner. The lock beeped open. Inside was a small syringe and a blue glass vial nestled in velvet. He knew he'd be betrayed one day. My memory rushed back. Dosages, antidotes, signs of poisoning. I filled the syringe, praying I remembered everything right. When I pushed the needle into his arm, his breath came in broken gasps. His pulse fluttered weakly under my fingers. "Stay with me," I whispered. The room felt too quiet. Even the thunder outside seemed distant as I watched his breathing slowly level out. His skin warmed. The blue tint faded from his lips. His eyes locked onto mine the entire time, studying me as if he had never really seen me before. When he finally spoke, his voice shook. "My brother," he said. "He did this." The words chilled me. Someone close to him, someone powerful, someone who could walk through his security like it was nothing. Outside, I heard cars starting, engines revving, tires splashing through rainwater as they pulled away. Whoever tried to kill him thought the job was done. "You should be dead," I said softly. Jonathan sat up slowly. His strength wasn't fully back, but his authority was. His eyes sharpened as he looked at me. "But I'm not. Because of you." I took 2 steps back, instinct screaming at me to run. I needed to pack my things and disappear before anyone realized I had helped him, before his enemies or even his allies decided I was a loose end. "You're not going anywhere," Jonathan said. His voice was low but steady now. "The moment you saved my life, you became the most valuable person in New York, and the most hunted." My hands shook. I saved a Mafia boss, and now my life was tied to his. He stood, swaying just slightly, and opened a hidden door behind a bookshelf. A narrow hallway lit by dim lights stretched ahead. "We have 3 days," he said. 3 days before my brother realizes he failed. 3 days before he comes back to finish the job. I followed him because I didn't know what else to do. Because running now would be suicide. Because I had stepped into a world I didn't understand, and there was no way out except through it. At the end of the hallway, a heavy metal door scanned his eye and clicked open. Inside was a room with security monitors, medical supplies, and weapons. A place built for survival, not comfort. "Why did you help me?" he asked quietly. I stared at the floor. Telling the truth felt like stripping my soul bare. "I'm a nurse," I said. Or I was. Before my mom got sick. Before the bills pushed me into this job. His expression changed. A small shift. A crack in the armor. "Your skills are wasted on cleaning floors." I swallowed hard, forcing my fear into words. "I don't want money. I want protection. For me. For my mother." "You'll have it," Jonathan said. "But when this is over, you walk away with a new identity, enough money to disappear, and no one will ever come looking for you again." He held out his hand. Our fates tied together in one impossible bargain. But when his fingers wrapped around mine, something electric passed between us. Something neither of us expected. Something that changed everything. I didn't sleep that night. Every sound in the mansion felt sharper. Every shadow felt like someone watching us. Jonathan worked beside me in the secure room, switching between camera feeds, medical charts, and encrypted files. I stayed close because I didn't feel safe anywhere else. And because part of me didn't trust him to stay alive without someone monitoring him. By sunrise, the mansion had changed. Half the staff was gone. New guards replaced the old ones. Every hallway buzzed with a tension I could feel in my bones. Jonathan moved through the house like a ghost, recovering fast, but still pale, still shaken. When he spoke, his voice was clipped and controlled. "Thallium," he said, sliding a toxicology report across the table toward me. "Slow poison. Rare. Expensive. Hard to detect." My brother knew I'd drink from that decanter. I stared at the report until the letters blurred. He could have died. He should have died. I saved the life of a man whose enemies could fill a city block. "You need to call the police," I said softly, knowing even as the words left my mouth that it was pointless. His laugh was low and bitter. "The police are his, Lucinda. My brother owns their loyalty." He tapped a keyboard and showed me bank statements, large payments to NYPD officials. My stomach twisted. "So what do you do now?" I asked. Jonathan turned in his chair, his eyes locked on mine, sharp and unreadable. "Now we turn the game on him. But we do it without bloodshed." That surprised me. Jonathan Wright was not a man known for mercy, but when he leaned closer, I understood. "I want my brother exposed. Not dead. His own words will bury him deeper than a bullet ever could." His plan made my stomach flip. A family dinner, James hosting, Jonathan attending as if he had never been poisoned, and me. A maid serving drinks, wearing a microphone under my uniform. A witness to a confession that could destroy a Mafia empire. "What if he sees me?" I whispered. "What if he recognizes me from that night?" "Then I'll protect you," Jonathan said, his voice low and certain. "You're mine to protect now." The way he said it sent a strange shiver through me. The night of the dinner came fast. James Wright's penthouse glittered with chandeliers and marble floors. Guests mingled in designer clothes, sipping champagne, laughing, celebrating new beginnings. If only they knew. I walked through the crowd in my server uniform, blending in like I was trained to do, but my heart beat so hard it felt like it shook the tray in my hands. Underneath my dress, the microphone rested warm against my skin. Jonathan entered the party like a ghost returning from the dead. Every head turned. Every whisper froze. James's smile faltered the moment he saw his brother alive. "Jonathan," he said, hugging him stiffly, "this is unexpected." "Surprise," Jonathan replied with a calm smile. I stayed close enough to listen, far enough to appear invisible. The tension between the brothers was sharp, slicing through the room like a blade. "Your recovery is miraculous," James said, voice tight. "Dr. Wells was certain your condition was terminal." Jonathan's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Thallium poisoning usually is. Lucky for me, I keep antidotes on hand for brotherly love." James's knuckles whitened around his glass. The room faded around me. The only thing I heard was their voices. The only thing I saw was the way Jonathan looked at his brother like he was finally seeing him for what he truly was. "We should talk in private," James murmured. They slipped into a study and closed the door. I followed quietly and stood near it, pretending to clear a champagne glass from the table outside. My heart pounded as I pressed my shoulder against the wood. Their voices rose inside. Accusations. Years of resentment. Secrets. "You tried to kill me," Jonathan said, "and you almost succeeded." I gripped the glass so tightly I thought it would break. Footsteps came from behind me, a security guard. His sharp gaze landed on my face. "I don't recognize you," he said. "Which agency sent you?" Panic froze me. Before I could speak, the study door opened and Jonathan stepped out. "She's with me," he said, his voice deadly calm. "Come." He grabbed my wrist and pulled me down the hall, his touch firm and warm. Once we reached the elevator, he leaned close, his breath brushing my ear. "You did well," he murmured. My pulse fluttered. "Did you get what you needed?" I whispered as the doors closed. "Better," he said, pulling out the recording device I handed him. I got him to confess everything. By the time we reached the safe house, a brownstone hidden in Brooklyn, the adrenaline had faded, leaving exhaustion and fear behind. Jonathan sat at the kitchen table, listening to the recording again. His jaw tightened with every word. "James is finished," he said quietly. "But that makes him desperate." I ran my hand through my hair, trying to breathe past the knot in my chest. "What happens now?" Jonathan's eyes lifted to mine. Not the cold Mafia boss, not the dying man begging for help. Something in between. Something human. Something dangerous in a completely different way. Now, he said softly, we start protecting what matters. You, your mother, and whatever future we can build once this is over. I didn't know when it happened. I didn't know how it happened. But in that moment, Jonathan Wright, the man I feared, the man I saved, felt closer than anyone ever had. He held my gaze, and something shifted between us. Something I wasn't ready to name yet. But it was real, and it was growing. I thought things would get easier once we had the recording. I thought the danger would slow down, that maybe Jonathan and I could breathe for a moment. I was wrong. The next morning, sunlight streamed into the brownstone kitchen in soft gold streaks. Jonathan was already awake, leaning over his laptop with a cup of black coffee. He looked tired in a way I hadn't seen before, like the past days were finally catching up with him. He glanced up when I walked in. "Your mother is moved," he said. "She's safe. They won't find her." Relief washed over me so fast I had to brace myself on the counter. For the first time since that night in the study, I felt air in my lungs. "Thank you," I whispered. He nodded, but I could tell something else was on his mind. There was a heaviness in his eyes, something unspoken. I sat across from him, waiting. "James called me," Jonathan finally said, pushing his phone toward me. "He wants to meet." My heart dropped. "Where?" "The abandoned ferry terminal at sunset." "No." It was the only word I could get out. My hands shook. Jonathan was walking into a trap. Anyone could see that. "You can't go," I said, shaking my head. "He'll kill you. He'll have men waiting." Jonathan's lips curved into a small, almost amused smile. "Of course he will. Then why would you?" "Because I'm not going alone," he interrupted, leaning forward. "I'm taking you." My breath caught. "Me?" "You'll be hidden underneath the main floor in the maintenance tunnels," Jonathan said. "He thinks you're just a maid. He doesn't know you were in my study the night he tried to kill me. He doesn't know you've seen his face. You'll hear everything and record everything." My pulse hammered in my ears. "So I'm the ghost," I said quietly. Jonathan's eyes softened. "You're the witness, the one person he won't expect." I swallowed hard, feeling the weight of his trust settle on me. I still wasn't sure how I became part of this world, but every hour seemed to pull me deeper. The ferry terminal rose against the sunset like an abandoned skeleton. Rusted beams, cracked concrete, broken windows. It looked like the kind of place where endings happened, not negotiations. Jonathan walked in ahead of me, shoulders squared, step steady. I followed him only until we reached a service entrance. He turned to face me, checking the small recording device he'd given me. "If anything happens to me," he said quietly, "you take this to Michael Grant. He'll know what to do." "Don't say that," I whispered. He reached out suddenly, his hand brushing my cheek. Soft. Unexpected. My breath caught. I don't plan on dying tonight, Lucinda, but I spent my life preparing for worst-case scenarios. His touch lingered for half a second before he stepped back and pointed toward the dark tunnel ahead. Stay hidden. No matter what happens. I nodded, even though fear pulled tight in my chest. The tunnel smelled like dust and damp metal. My footsteps echoed softly as I crouched beneath the grate that led to the main floor. Through the gaps, I could see Jonathan standing under the fading light. James arrived moments later. "You actually came alone," James said, sounding surprised. "Some things should stay between family," Jonathan replied. Their conversation started calm, almost civil. Then years of anger began to crack through their voices. "You tried to kill me," Jonathan said. "You used our father's favorite drink to do it." "He deserved it," James snapped back. "He gave you everything. Power, respect, the empire. I was supposed to lead. You stole it." "I didn't steal anything," Jonathan said sharply. "You refused to work with me." James laughed bitterly. "I refuse to be your shadow." The argument escalated fast. Their voices echoed through the empty terminal, bouncing off steel beams and broken glass. Then I heard it. The click of a gun being cocked. My stomach twisted. "You were always predictable," Jonathan said, sounding almost tired. "My men have guns trained on you right now." A long silence followed. "What do you want?" James finally said. "I want you gone. Out of New York. Out of my life. If you don't disappear, the recording goes to the FBI." James's voice dropped low. "Exile is worse than death." "Then choose wisely," Jonathan answered. Footsteps echoed. A door opened. James left. Jonathan waited a moment before speaking again. "You can come up now, Lucinda." My legs were unsteady as I climbed out of the tunnel. Dust clung to my hair and clothes, but Jonathan reached for me immediately, pulling me up with a steady hand. "You recorded everything?" he asked. "Every word," I said, giving him the device with trembling fingers. "Do you really think he'll leave?" Jonathan slipped the device into his pocket. His eyes darkened. "No, he'll be back. This buys us time, nothing more." We drove in silence back to the safe house, both of us lost in our thoughts. When we arrived, the night was quiet. Too quiet. Jonathan locked the door behind us, checked the windows, then turned to face me. "Lucinda," he said softly, "you've done more for me than anyone ever has." I opened my mouth to reply, but then the doorbell rang. Jonathan's entire body tensed. He drew his weapon so fast, I barely saw the motion. When he checked the camera feed, I saw a delivery courier on the porch. He let out a slow breath and opened the door cautiously. "It's from James," he said, holding a small box with no return address. My heart thudded painfully. He scanned it for explosives, then opened it. Inside lay an antique pocket watch. Jonathan stared at it like it was a ghost from his past. "It was our father's," he said. "James wanted this more than anything." A small card lay beneath it. "Consider this my white flag." But Jonathan's jaw tightened. "No," he whispered. "This is not peace. This is a message." He opened a hidden compartment in the watch, revealing a tiny memory card. James is playing a deeper game than I thought. Fear washed through me again. And just like that, the storm we survived became only the beginning. Jonathan connected the small memory card to his secure laptop, and lines of encrypted files filled the screen. I watched the glow reflect in his eyes as he clicked through each folder, his expression shifting from confusion to anger to something far more dangerous. "These are my legitimate businesses," he said quietly. "Every property, every investment, every charity foundation I built to get out of this life. James has been tracking everything." I felt a chill run through me. So the pocket watch wasn't a peace offering, it was a threat. "He's telling you he can destroy your future," I whispered. Jonathan nodded slowly. "He's not just after revenge. He wants to trap me in the past forever. Before I could respond, alarms blared across the brownstone security panel. Jonathan jerked to his feet, checking the camera feeds. My blood ran cold. "The mansion," he said. "Something's happening there." We raced to the safe room where his lieutenants had gathered. Screens showed smoke rising from the east wing of the mansion. Firefighters fought violent flames that glowed through shattered windows. "This isn't random," I said. "James is making his move." Jonathan's jaw tightened. "He wants the old ledgers. If he steals them, he can pin every crime on me and clear himself completely." He sprinted toward the garage. Before he could open the door, he turned to me. "You stay here." No arguments. I moved in front of him, blocking the door. "You can't go alone," I said. "Look at the footage. There are men everywhere, and the building is burning." Jonathan looked torn, like he was fighting instincts years deep. But then his gaze softened, the sharpness in his eyes replaced by something that shook me. "I've spent my whole life protecting what's mine," he said quietly. "But nothing I own is worth losing you." His words hit me like a wave. He wasn't saying it lightly. He wasn't protecting me because it was strategic. He meant it. Jonathan exhaled, shoulders dropping slightly as he stepped back from the door. "Let him take the ledgers," he said. "We have something better now. We have the recording." He reached for my hand. I didn't pull away. Hours later, Jonathan and I stood outside what was left of the mansion. Firefighters moved through the smoldering ruins, smoke curling into the night sky. The east wing was gone. The vault was destroyed. And the ledgers, those dangerous books full of secrets, were probably in James's hands by now. "He thinks he's won," Jonathan said. "Do you?" I asked. Jonathan looked at me, his expression steady. "No, because I'm done fighting for the past." He turned toward the flames, watching the last pieces of his old life burn away. "We're building something new, Lucinda, something real. Something he can't touch." My heart twisted because the way he said "we" didn't sound like strategy. It sounded like a promise. The following weeks moved fast. Jonathan cut ties with his criminal operation piece by piece, transferring power to trusted people who wanted peace, not war. He met with lawyers, investors, city officials. He handled every threat James tried to send from the shadows, and I was by his side through all of it. Not hidden, not invisible, not a maid, a partner. We designed a care facility for patients like my mother, with nurses, therapists, gardens, music rooms, everything she would need. Jonathan funded the entire project without hesitation. One afternoon, while reviewing plans in the brownstone library, I caught him watching me. He had a book open on his lap, but he wasn't reading. "You changed everything," he said softly. I looked up. "Me? You saved my life, Lucinda. But that night did more than that. You changed the way I see this world. You made me want something better than fear." My heart beat hard in my chest. I didn't know what to say. He reached for my hand slowly, waiting for me to pull back. I didn't just save him, he saved me too. 6 months later, we stood together at the ribbon-cutting ceremony for the Wright Rehabilitation Center, built on the ashes of the mansion. Reporters flashed cameras as Jonathan gave a short speech. "From destruction, we create healing. From darkness, we choose light. This center is our new beginning. R." He said it again. After the ceremony, he drove us to the Brooklyn waterfront. The evening sky glowed in shades of pink and orange. The wind carried the faint smell of the ocean. Jonathan stopped walking and turned to me. "Lucinda," he said, reaching into his coat. "I've spent my whole life taking things. Power, territory, even people's loyalty. But for the first time, I want something that isn't taken. I want it given freely." He opened a small velvet box. Inside wasn't a ring. It was a key. The key to the brownstone. To his life. To our future. "I'm asking properly," he said. "Stay with me. Build this new world with me. Make this permanent." My breath trembled. I closed my fingers around the key. "From deadly whispers to new beginnings," I said. "Yes, Jonathan, I will." He pulled me into his arms as the sun sank behind the skyline. Warm, certain, safe. The man I once feared became the man I chose. The Mafia boss became the protector who trusted me with his life. And the silent maid became the woman who changed his world. In the end, it wasn't power or revenge that shaped our future, it was compassion, courage, and two broken souls who rebuilt themselves together.